to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Taylor's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, now, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome to
Everybody, welcome in. Eugene, Oregon for Indiana and Oregon. Number 3 and number 7 today. The biggest game in the country. Absolutely the biggest game in the Big Ten. College football. Playoff implications. Seeding implications. Big Ten championship implications. And respectability implications. So there are a ton of storylines today here that will be settled on this field here at Oxford Stadium. I'm Jim Coyle, coach with us as well. Glad to have you along, as always, as we can bring you the best and freshest stuff there is. And, Coach, this is for as formidable of a stadium as I have heard, which I have no doubt that it is. It's a very cool, unique step. It is a nice bowl higher on one side, but the people are so friendly, and I'm still wearing my back. I don't even know why. The people are so friendly. It's not even. I can't even put it on. There's Oregon, and then there's the big old drop, and then there's whoever's next. But, I mean, they've gone out of their way to be unbelievably present.
Yeah, a great environment there in Eugene. Of course, we're seeing the environment now with the music and noise that is surrounding a big-time college atmosphere for these Hoosiers today. And I am so happy that they have rolled out the red carpet for you and all Hoosiers that are in attendance. And Jim, this is one of the things to talk about.
Well, first of all, I want to get the sound right here. Is the sound? Am I not sounding good? Because I can't hear it.
Well, the mic helped a lot there when you added it, and I think it's probably as good as you're going to get it with that noise in the background, with that music bouncing off the stand. So,
I'll tell you what I'll try to do. I will try to. So it's not coming through the mic anymore. That's what you're saying. If we sort this out right now.
Yeah, I think as far as
right.
you've got, I think we're good as they're going to get, bud.
All right, well, you do the talking right now for a minute.
Yeah, sure will. Yeah, today this game for Indiana is the number 7 ranked Hoosiers take on the number 3 Oregon's Ducks there in Eugene. And one of the key components to this game, of course, will be noise management for the Indiana Hoosiers, which they've already kind of addressed with their game in Iowa City 2 weeks ago, with the way they handled the offensive snap count and things of that nature. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be too much of an issue today, as they've prepared for it and played in an environment like Iowa Stadium, Kinnick Stadium 2 weeks ago. But the biggest thing today is going to be, can the Indiana Hoosiers, number 1, establish a running game and utilize the RPOs to keep the Oregon defense honest, and can the Indiana offensive line protect Fernando Mendoza enough to get the ball down the field, because they're going to have to take some risks vertically with EJ Williams especially. And is this a game that Golden State becomes a factor in this offense because of what he brings to the table as a receiver? And we just lost Jim there from Eugene, which is a tough environment as well. Not only to play, but as you can see, also do a on-site broadcast from today. But I do think Holden Stays is a kid that becomes a factor if Indiana can utilize him today. But they are going to have to target the passing game with calculated vertical shots with EJ Williams, because he gives them a good matchup on the outside with his length and the ability to go up for 50-50 balls. And if Indiana can do some back shoulder throws, not something that I don't think necessarily Fernando is overly comfortable with, I do think they can push the ball down the field vertically. We heard all morning on ESPN College Game Day, and of course Nick Saban's piping in about this Oregon defense, and Dan Lanning, who is a disciple similar to what Kurt Signetti is, having been on Saban's Alabama staffs, about this concept of what you have to do to play an Indiana offense. And that was having what we call split safeties, middle field open, because he thinks that's what Oregon needs to do to bait Indiana into more run opportunities, and then allow their defensive line, who he thinks are big and strong, to dominate the offensive line from Indiana. And I kind of, at one point yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, he made the reference is that at the end of that dissertation about how to play Indiana's offense, he made the comment, to the extent that he knew how his boy Dan Lanning was going to play Indiana. So I don't know if Kurt Signetti and Coach Saban are necessarily on great terms, but he made that comment about how he feels Indiana was going to have to play this. The Oregon defense was going to have to play this Indiana offense. But we'll see what all happens today with them in that respects. But you're correct there, Fives left with Penix and what they did in previous things. And then we're trying to get Jim back in here, hopefully. We'll see if I can. Can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. It's a little faint, but I think it's good enough that we can have that conversation. And I was talking while you were trying to get yourself in a better position there about Indiana's offense, and the ability to run the football today will be a key factor on Indiana's ability to move the football on this Oregon defense. And a day for like a Roman Hemby to be that guy, along with Deron Black, to help establish a running game for this Indiana Hoosier offense.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that is going to open up the Indiana offense. It's also going to slow down. But might get tough going. Trust of Oregon for deep, and it's better knowledge in the league, and it's going to be a relentless battle. But if they can make some adjustments in the offense, which I think maybe they made the offense back. And Mendoza already has the highest release for a quarterback in the so they're just going to have to be able to. We're going to have almost a perfect team. We're going to need some help from Oregon. Oregon is deep team. Yeah, that's hard to say. They have a deep talent. They're deep, and they're good. They're very good. They're home. That is a concern for me to the offense of getting into a situation where if it's not a fourth down, it's like you've got that. But it's only when you need to get into a situation where you see all the ball out. But that's the new point. They don't do it. So there you go. Audio is bad.
I'll let you kind of fiddle around with that there, Jim, in here in a second, and push you backstage here and bring you back on when you feel like you got it back to normal again. But I think what Jim was saying there quite frequently was that, you know, it's going to be a key to Indiana's success today is Indiana's offense having efficiency on first and second down and utilizing the run game so that they are not get behind the sticks on making sure they are in third and or three in all this, because if they get the big third and long today, quite frequently it's going to be tough for Indiana to really have any success offensively if they're consistently behind.
Did you have me any better now?
Last time
Why haven't you sound any better?
go ahead, Jim, and say some things here, and I'll see if I can tune you in.
How would you sound if I sounded?
It's still kind of choppy. I don't know if you've got that mic that you had initially, because that seemed to be the best. That seemed to clean it up there. I don't know what you did, but I'm going to go ahead and continue with the chat here too, as well as you keep setting it up, and maybe you get that mic set back up. But that was pretty good there, whatever you had done. But the last time Indiana was in Eugene, Oregon was back in 2004 under Jerry DiNardo, where they snapped Oregon's 10-year non-conference home win streak with a big-time win, 30-24 in Eugene. Can the Hoosiers do that today? Because right now, Oregon has been a big-time home field team, and right now, I believe they've won 31 of their last 32 ball games in Eugene. So that is a big thing that was pointed out this morning. And of course, bear with us here with Jim and the audio as such within the stadiums, because you get that noise bouncing around off the stadiums, and it's hard sometimes to get that clear audio with what he's trying to do. So as we navigate these pregame scenarios, just kind of bear with us in some of that aspect of things with this audio today. Let's see here. Trying to see if there's any of the other questions here. I know people are trying to help with the audio. Definitely appreciate that. Again, we want full participation. If you got a question today or a comment, please feel free to put it in the into the chat box, whether you're joining us via YouTube or X, Facebook as well. Remember to subscribe over to thehoosier.com. Get that subscription. $1 for first month, 50% off, or 50% off for the rest of the year, with some great coverage with the gentlemen that are even in there today out in Eugene. Zach Browning, one of them, and it's going to be a great ball game for them to follow in that respect, as well as Jim's Twitter feed, which is at Jim Coyle ISB. Again, I think Jim had talked about a little bit earlier, and it was a topic of discussion especially on ESPN's College Game Day, about Indiana being able to take care of other big team opponents in a pretty resounding fashion, especially what they did to Illinois at home under a national TV audience on NBC, rolling the Fighting Illini 63-10. Right now, early in the third quarter, they are down to Ohio State 20-3. And Ohio State was able to add a late touchdown before halftime to push the score from 10 to now 17 points. Illinois is driving now Luke Allmeyer is having a pretty decent day today, but Indiana needs a signature win is what the ESPN College Game Day gurus were talking about, as well other media, and I don't disagree with them. That Indiana needs to get a signature win. But I do not believe if today doesn't go the Hoosiers' way, that completely eliminates them for a second opportunity at the college football playoffs. But I got the impression, at least from some of those in the talking head there on ESPN, that if Indiana would lose today, I got the impression that by some reason that made them unworthy of a potential second trip to the college football playoffs. How soon we forget Alabama's loss to Florida State at Florida State, and they talk as if Alabama is now back in the thick of things because of where they've done since that game. Well, you got to apply it equally there, gentlemen. You can't just sit and think about it. Five lefts. Do I think Oregon will try to overpower IU with the pass rush like Ohio State did last year? I do think so. I don't think that's any question that they feel that they have an advantage up front with this Indiana offensive line. I talked on the Hoosier tailgate on Thursday that according to PFF, the statistical analytical gurus of all things college and pro football, Indiana's right side of their line, Evans and Benson, I believe, they are one of the question marks that I have and others have to being able to hold up to against this Indiana or this Oregon pass rush. They have given up 6 pressures on the year thus far, and in the run game have not graded out overly well. So that is something that I hope that Indiana has addressed between the last game against Iowa, where it was apparent that was where they were pressuring from, as well as having that game and then a bye week to address those issues. So in the grand scheme of things, and for a shorter version of that answer to your question there, Five Lefts, yes, I do think they will try to overpower the right side of the offensive line today in Eugene with that. But I do think that Indiana in itself will have to, find ways to win different aspects in this game, especially in the statistical side of the data, and be able to do all that. And that's what it's going to take for them to give themselves an opportunity. And when I come back here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio pregame show, we'll talk a little bit more about that all right here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio pregame show. We'll be back right after this.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back to the Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Here today with Jim Coyle, who is still trying to join us as well today. And, of course, myself, the coach, Shannon Griffith. And what you're seeing on the screen there today is a breakdown of Oregon's defense and what they've done versus Indiana's defense thus far this season. As you can see, it's a pretty identical defensive group, for not just for the Hoosiers, but as well as the Oregon Ducks in this ball game. You can see that each defense only giving up 9 points for the Hoosiers, 12.2 for the Ducks. As we go down through there, you can see Indiana's rush defense has been on fire pretty much all year, 88 yards a game to Oregon's 114. And then you see the total defensive comparisons. Both defenses tough on third down. That's why Indiana is going to have to stay ahead of the sticks and not find themselves in third and long with everything this afternoon. It's going to be important for Indiana to have that efficiency on first and second down, utilizing run pass balance. And what does efficiency mean? You're looking for a 4 to 5 yard average on those two downs. So you're setting up yourself in third and short. As you can see, Oregon's fourth down conversions defensively, they're giving up 70% of them. Now, that may be due to some facts of them having to defend more with teams getting behind. But I do look for Indiana to take calculated risk on fourth downs today, but they're going to have to do a better job than what they've done thus far this year. Let me try to get over to that segment of data here. Bear with me here. As you can see, comparing Indiana's offense to Oregon's defense, right now, both teams very close in points per game. Indiana an advantage in the rushing yardage department. And don't forget, this Indiana team had 4 straight games of 300 yards or more rushing against Iowa. A lot of people want to point out the 104 yards that Iowa's defense was able to keep Indiana at. They also forget to put in there that Indiana took a 45-yard loss on a safety to end the game. And that really should not have been there with that aspect of things. So Roman Henby against Iowa, 15 carries, 88 yards for a 5.7 yard average. I say it again, he has to be a factor in Indiana's run game today. And I do hope Indiana does some more things other than just inside zone. Maybe forcing outside zone concepts, maybe running more true power schemes where they're blocking down and pulling through and trying to get great movement at the point of attack. So they got to open some of that. Third down conversions, both offenses outstanding, over 50%. Oregon, fourth down conversions have gone on fourth downs more. They're 9 of 13 for almost 70% as an offense. So Indiana's defense will have to come up big in those scenarios where Oregon will take a calculated risk on fourth down. Red zone scores, meaning they came away with a touchdown or field goal. Oregon 100%. Indiana about 90%, so still very good. red zone touchdowns, Indiana right about 80%, as is Oregon at 83%. And when you look at the scoring by quarter, Indiana has really put the numbers on the board for 3 straight quarters, and as has Oregon. In the third quarter, Oregon is scoring 73 points to Indiana 66. So there's a slight differential there. And then points off of turnovers, which is a big key thing that Indiana had last year. Both teams, they're at 31 points on the year with their points off of turnovers. Again, question here. My biggest concern for Indiana today is their ability to communicate. Is it going to be very loud? It's going to be loud in that stadium. It's the way that stadium is constructed is set up to create a loud audio aspect in the stadium. And Indiana, I believe, will not have a problem with that. They went into Iowa 2 weeks ago with that problem, noise and things of that nature. They addressed that like most teams do. And if you watch football clearly in games where the opponent is in a loud stadium, they do primarily the same thing Indiana does. You'll see Mendoza raise his legs, signaling to the right guard that he's ready, and he will shoot his hand, is what Indiana does, to let the center know it's ready to be snapped. Other teams maybe tap the center to let him know the quarterback's ready. But every team has utilized the Indiana's way, or I'm not going to say it's their propriety way, but is their way of addressing crowd noise. It's pretty evenly across the board, their new life. So I don't expect that to be a huge issue in today's ball game, but we'll have to wait and see with all that, because again, it's a new environment. Things could be a little different. And to give you an update on the Ohio State Illinois game right now, 7:55 left in the third, and the Buckeyes now are just up 20-10. So the Illini hanging tough against the Bucks in Champaign-Urbana today with that. Again, another thing today that we want to watch for. And again, if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to jump in with that. We want this to be as much as a participation type of pregame so you can get the answers prior to watching the game. Is Indiana has to stay poised in the first quarter. They're going to have to weather that initial storm that Oregon will bring, as well as something that Indiana is going to have to make sure that they're not giving up cheap scores. And that is one of the big things that, big games like this come down to who can stop the opposing offense from getting the big hit, or that cheap touchdown in a game like this. And then, of course, an area where Indiana has done quite well this year is special teams. Indiana has returned punts for touchdowns. They've had some blocks, as well as Pons' block, punt, and scoop and score against Illinois that really flipped that game. And that's one of those things. Special teams can give you an advantage, especially in a game like this, if you can do some things that create momentum for your offense. And look at that today as well, on who comes out ahead on that special teams, quote unquote, hidden yardage battle. Let's see here. Indiana stops the run game and make the quarterback make plays. Indiana wins by 28. The passing threat is not a concern with Pons back there. Well, you know what? This Indiana defensive secondary, as we went into the start of this year, we all felt, and me included, that the secondary was better this year with who they were able to add in that secondary. Boykin, one transfer that they had, Knight Knighton from Northern Illinois, who's seen limited time, but he has played some. And then, of course, the play of Sharp, the corner that has been with Indiana, has been really good up to date, and may have been one of the best corners that has played their position this year in terms of what they've been able to do. Expect Oregon to go after him today. I do not have a doubt in my mind that they will try to target Sharp on deep balls. And that's not to say that they are not going to try to target D'Angelo either. Being that he's 5'9", he's an undersized corner, they're going to think that they have the length and speed to go ahead and target him on a deep ball in that regard. So some things to watch there in the secondary, but I like Farrell and Moore's play of late. Moore's playing lights out. I mean, he has really played well on PFF. He's only like in the 12th percentile of missed tackles. That's huge in a day like this. So that's the thing too as well. What New Life there, get up early and make Oregon play from behind. Absolutely. Anytime you can strike blood on the road and get ahead, you can always force a team like Oregon maybe to press a little. So that will be a key environment, just like it was at Iowa when Indiana picked the second play of the game, Farrell with a big interception, and 2 plays later, Fernando hits Cooper in the corner of the left end zone to give Indiana early lead. Again, that scenario is huge. And if Indiana can do that, they're going to be able to do that. Do you have any concerns with Mendoza protecting the ball in the pocket? He tends to hold the ball low and he runs too high, exposing himself to hard hits. Yes, I do believe that's something that Coach Whitmore has been working on with him to improve him running the ball with a little bit more of a forward lean and not being upright too much, as well as making sure that he's securing in the pocket with 2 hands. That's the key thing there. He has such a quick delivery. Right now, he is getting rid of the football from snap to out of his hands in 2.6 seconds. That makes it very, very tough for a opposing defense to get home. So that is still going to be critical today. But when you have to force the ball down the field some, and I don't mean it in a negative sense, maybe in a positive sense, you're going to have to protect him enough so that he can make the correct reads or find the escape hole to make a positive play and not take unnecessary sacks against this Oregon defense. When did IU arrive to Oregon? They came in on Friday late afternoon is what I understood. SIG does not give too much credence to the West Coast, East Coast travel issue, and rightfully so. I don't think it's over a big issue. If you properly prepare for these type of trips way back in July when you're doing the correct things in the weight room and hydration, because you're not going to make up for lack of hydration in a 24-hour window. That takes place all through the year and all through the week. So I don't as well say that going from the Midwest to the West Coast in terms of travel is an issue. Look to last year with what Indiana did to UCLA in the Rose Bowl on the road, and they got out there later in the day. And, you know, Sig's one of those guys that does not like to hang around the hotel too much, and I can't blame him in that regard. So, but Indiana in that respect, again, watch for that first quarter storm, and they have to be able to weather it in that regard. You know, we got 2 different types of offenses in some respect in terms of what Indiana and Oregon like to do. Indiana wants that balanced and composed offense where they take advantage of what the defense gives them. And that's one thing that Fernando does quite well in terms of reading the pitcher in front of him on whether to give it or throw it on the RPO aspect of the game, as well as being that leader in the huddle. And I would like to see Indiana maybe push some tempo today. I'd like to see them push some tempo because they have not shown that yet. They've been a huddle team more so than anything. I'd like to see them maybe push some tempo today just to change up the way they run things. And then Oregon is that team that thrives off tempo and explosive plays. And that's kind of what you're going to see from them, is a team that likes to push the tempo, push the ball down the field in that respect, and get things going as much as they can in a game like this today. So those are some things to watch for as well. Indiana, we talked about the 3-game gauntlet. This is that third game of it. You had Illinois and Iowa, the first two, which Indiana passed that test. In order for them to head to Eugene with a 2-0 record in those 3 games, I do believe Indiana's playing on some house money in the sense that if they had lost one of those 2 ball games, this would have been a must-win type of game for Indiana. They can go there knowing that they can play loose and let it fly within the system, fast, physical, relentless against this Oregon team, and not be in that situation right now where they have to have a must win. And they've approached it as such this week. So, well, okay. Yeah. Go get there Friday afternoon, go through a quick walkthrough and go to bed, get up. Yeah. Normally on the road, what your routine would be, and I'm not quite sure what Indiana's true routine is under Signetti. We would normally travel on a Friday when I was at Ball State, whether it be by bus or flying, and we would try to get there where we could have field availability. That's usually around 4:00 is when they do that. Let the guys get a feel for the stadium, the environment they're playing in, run through a modified special team script, do some offense and defensive stuff, so they can get some of the poison out of their system from being we called it that, from being on a bus or on a plane for so long, and then take them to the hotel. You'd have your normal dinner routine around 6. You give them a few hours for that to digest. You would start meeting O&D at 8:30, somewhere around there. You would have a special teams meeting right after that, as well as leading into a team meeting where the head coach would really hone them in and get them focused on the task at hand, talk about the keys to a game, and then you send them back to their rooms with some pizza, and it was usually lights out around 10:30 or 11, especially on a day game like it is today. Let's see here. How much I think they'll pass compared to run? Well, I guess that kind of depends on what they're having success with on first and second down and the score of the game, at that particular time. I don't think they will think that they cannot run the ball today. And quite honestly, I think that would be a mistake. I do think they're going to have to find that balance, and they've done so pretty much so through the year, this season. Been very good at that. But I do think you're going to see a mix of that. And if they can have that efficiency, like I was talking about earlier, then you get in a rhythm and tempo of what you can do offensively, which makes it a beast. Let's see here. I'm getting a text from our boy, Jim. It's kind of saying that it's too hard for him to find that spot where there's not all the loudness. And so, and I'll just do the post game. Well, again, like I said, this is kind of a thing that we've added to our repertoire on game days outside of just doing the post game show, trying to get some of this pregame atmosphere, as well as talking about some of the keys to this ball game. But when you look at it, back to that question, I don't necessarily think they're going to have more passes versus runs, but that does depend on the timing and situation of the ball game that it evolves. If they can get into a rhythm, and that's one thing they fought against Iowa, is getting into that rhythm offensively, then I think it bodes well for Indiana, as Ohio State is on the 1 yard line, 4th down now, trying to get a big score to move the game back to a 17-point ball game. Okay, let's see here. We got here the two big games last year. Indiana seemed a little too conservative and let Mendoza out of his shell and hit his targets. Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that approach. And remember this about Indiana's offense. It is an oversimplistic offense when you look at it from a coach's perspective or even a fan's perspective, because Indiana is a inside zone RPO team that usually that's what they're running 90% of the time. If I had to say what is my one critical aspect to what they do or Coach Shanahan does, and remember, Coach Cignetti's heavily involved in this offense, is I'd like to see them have more in their repertoire offensively in the run game, trying to, have some of those power run games, because it's very difficult to run inside zone in the red zone or on the 5 or 4 yard line when you got 6, 8, 9 bodies at the point of attack. You got to have the ability to block down, pull guys, and run through and do things like that, utilizing the tight end as well, where you can get 3 guys at the point of attack sometimes to run the power run game. And you can still do your RPOs off of it. It's not saying that it's a make or break. So that would be my one criticism in that respect with the offense to date. And I do think they need to start running some true play action, hard play action type of passes to throw it down the field. But I also do think they have to move the launch point for Mendoza to keep Oregon off balance and not just think he's going to be in that pocket for drop back quick game in that regard. Yeah, he does have the ear insert. So I think the biggest thing there is when you get into those environments, it does create issues, especially down on the field, because you have all the electronics around you. Everybody has a cell phone nowadays, and that has a tendency to really cause some issues, especially with a cell phone when you're trying to kick video out of it as well. And it's very hard to do something like this in a press box. They really don't want you doing that type of thing. So we'll have to figure out some other ways to make this happen and moving forward, especially when they're at IU. I don't think they'll have that much of an issue there, but we'll see. Oregon ranks 3rd against the pass, but 38th against the run. And you're correct, New Life, and that's what we were discussing earlier. Indiana needs to really establish a run game today. And so they can, and that's why I think Roman Hemby is a big part of that, not just in the run game. I think he can be a big part of it in the pass game to kick the ball outside to him on, check down swing passes and use calculated screen game to help the rush of Oregon and keep them from just blowing up field. Now you got to, those type of things don't always happen, in an easy fashion. You really have to set them up and be really keen in what the defense is doing. So it'll be important that those people that are around Coach Shanahan today can help in that regard with play calling and such. You know what? We're going to take a quick another break here. We'll come back. We'll kind of finish things up with this afternoon's ball game and talk about what are some things that Indiana will have to do in order to get a win on the road in Eugene, Oregon against the Ducks. So stay right tuned to more Indiana Sports Beat Radio pregame show right after this message.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Here, before the Indiana Hoosiers take on the Oregon Ducks from Eugene, Oregon. Thank you for joining us today. Unfortunately, Jim had some audio issues and such, so he had to kind of drop out, but that's okay. We'll make sure that we try to figure that out the next time and get things correctly on that. As I said, we were trying to do something different here the last couple of weeks, and that's going to be something that we'll try to get better at. But make sure you join us 30 minutes after the game today, as we will be back for the post-game show, where we'll have everything in this game today broken down and talking about. And again, like I said, thanks for joining us today. The dates of faced weak passing attacks. Can they handle IU's passing attack? Yeah, Robert. Again, it's gonna be one of those things, is if Indiana can protect Mendoza and trying to find a real threat, I do believe Indiana can have an effective day in the passing game. It's going to take the situation. Can they protect him? And B, can the offensive receivers, Cooper, EJ Williams, and Surratt, can they win against their coverage there? Quick update on scores. Ohio State did score to go ahead 27-10 in the fourth quarter and just recovered a fumble after Luke Altmaier dropped the one in the pocket, as Fies Left was asking that question earlier. And how about UCLA? They are in East Lansing, Michigan, beating the Sparty 38-13. And while I don't like to look ahead, remember, after this ball game, Indiana will face both UCLA and Michigan State, and UCLA right now has seemed to find the right makeup with the new head coach and new coordinator there in UCLA, and they're laying it on the Sparty today. Here are some things today that I think are important in this ball game against the Ducks for Indiana, and I do think it's going to be a key thing for Indiana today, and I'll get this cited here in that respect. Let's go back to the offense here and get that taken care of. The biggest thing for Indiana today is going to be stay on schedule, avoid those negative plays. Going to have to find a way, as I mistyped there, to exploit Iowa's limited pass defense, and I meant to be Oregon's pass defense, because like one brought up, they're 38th in the country, and that's a key thing that Indiana can try to exploit today. And you want to limit those things as Indiana, of course. And then again, with using RPOs, play action passing, crossing routes, because Indiana's not done that quite well as Indiana's ability to play to their strength as a offense and not get themselves in a situation, because Oregon's defensive front does mix things up a bit. And they can play some crazy looking fronts as they did against Penn State. So they're going to have to play to their strengths in the run game and attack this defensive front, because the best thing to do is run right at them. Don't think you're going to run around them, because their speed is pretty darn good as a defense. You've got to go right at them in this type of game. Pace and tempo, we talked about that earlier. I think it's a good thing to do to keep Oregon a little bit off guard. We'll see if that is the case this afternoon here in about 40 minutes. And then, of course, aggressive and targeted play calling. What do I mean by that? Have plays designed to go to Surratt, or go to Omar Cooper or EJ Williams with the tight end. That's going to be the thing in that regard, in that sense. Let's see here. So on an honest take, what's the chances of IU winning this game, your real feelings? We'll talk about that here in a second. Good question. Great question. And I'm going to give it to you. Defensively speaking, Indiana, what they got to do today is they've got to find ways to win that first down game where they keep Oregon behind the sticks. Don't let them have that efficiency we talked about earlier, where they're getting 4 or 5 yards on average on first and second downs. They've got to be disciplined versus Dante Moore when he scrambles. You've got to make sure that the coverage is staying in their coverage and within the secondary, not coming off the receivers, because he'll throw it over your head. And then they must be able to wrap this kid up. He's big, he's strong, but when you get a chance to tackle him, you got to wrap him up and get all 11 helmets to the ball at that point. Get pressure and win the money down. That's third downs that we call money down, third downs. If Indiana can get Oregon into third and longs and then be able to get their pressure, however that may look, 4-man rush, 5-man rush, calculated times where they completely go after Dante Moore. If it's third and long, that's the great opportunity. Last thing here, be attacking and aggressive, and in the secondary, not have any alignment issues, which Indiana had first couple weeks of the season, where they were not getting properly aligned in the secondary, and that caused some issues in terms of what they were putting on tape. And Dante Moore in Oregon will exploit that if they have not done their best to take care of it. Let's see, Bama up on Missouri. It's been a good ball game as well. A lot of great games today leading up to this Indiana Hoosier game today, 3:30 on CBS. And I want to answer one last question here. What will it be, or what will it take for Indiana to come away and shock the Ducks in Eugene, making the first time that Indiana has beaten a top 5 ranked team? They are 1-72 against a top 5 ranked team. And again, this is only Cignetti's second year, so that's a lot of past history that I don't think is overly relevant today. But it is a tough place for any team, regardless. You could be the second-ranked team or the fourth-ranked team in the country, and you're going to face a real task of beating the Ducks in their own pond, so to speak. So today, what does Indiana have to do to get a win in a game like this? Number one, they have got to find ways to gain possessions, either by making interceptions or fumble recovery. So I like to see them get at least two fumbles or what I call takeaways against Oregon. Remember, Indiana, 31 points off of takeaways this year already. If they can take the ball away a couple of times and convert those into scores, we're talking 14 points right there. Also, Indiana, efficiency on first and second down, as well to allow them to convert on third and medium or short. We saw their statistic, they're 58% on third down conversions this year. Huge thing in this ball game for them to stay on that schedule. We talked about having the attacking mentality, offensively, defensively, must be on the forefront of every kid's mind today. Be attacking, be disciplined in what you're doing, and all above else, let it fly, guys. Let it fly. Turn it loose. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose this afternoon in Eugene. And then in special teams, I want to see an opportunity where they either score or set up a score for this Hoosier football team today. If they can do those things and eliminate big plays by Oregon, I do think, in all honesty, that Indiana has a chance to go into Eugene and get a huge win today against the Ducks. Now, if the script is flipped and they're not getting turnovers and they're themselves turning over the ball and they're not being attacking and aggressive and their special teams are not doing the things that they need to do in terms of coverage and tackling in space, it's going to be a long day in Eugene for this Hoosier ball club. So that's kind of how I see it playing out today, guys. And I do appreciate you jumping on here and staying with me, especially with Jim not being able to fully join us today. But I do appreciate that. We'll have the pregame show no matter what at the end of the day today of this ball game against number 7 Indiana and number 3 Oregon. Look for that about 30 minutes after the conclusion, as that's about what it takes to get through the pressers and stuff. And Jim will jump on at the appropriate time he is completed with Coach Signetti in that presser. But join us today, or later today, this afternoon, at right after the conclusion of Indiana at Oregon. Remember, CBS, 3:30 kick, national TV audience again for these Indiana Hoosiers. And hope you guys enjoyed my take on today's game. And hopefully I gave you some things to look at as you watch this ball game today. Thank you for being here as well. And remember, you can get all this information as well right there. Hoosier.com, $1 first month, 50% off the rest of the year. Zach Browning, Kyler Staley, I do believe, are the two other individuals covering this game today, but all the Hoosier staff will be watching and updating their Twitter feed. You can follow me at Hoosier Tailgate or at Coach Griff 55. Until the end of the ball game today, enjoy the Indiana Hoosiers taking on number 3 Oregon from Eugene, Oregon. We'll have the post-game show right after, all right here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio post-game show as a part of the Hoosier.com. Good afternoon, everybody. And as they would say, go Hoosiers.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.